Uh-oh. Here's episode. Or not episode, but another Lunerboonie battle. It's the Piranha Girl. Yep, she's next. The one who Fango uses a cargo ship to defeat. But, well, you do know that. But we're not on that part yet. We gotta explain about the first few parts of the episode first, before we get to that part. And that's when and not only is this episode got this mean old piranha girl, but it's also got these two girls. One is like a wasp and one's the insect. Not insect, but fire ant. And Fango had to use, and these are the ones Fango had to use the grain bin on. The grain bin elevator, he just blew them to smithereens. Yeah, we gotta wait for that part too. And also the abominable snow lady's in this one, even though it's not snowy. This is not an episode that has snowy weather. And Fango had to use the transmissions towers to defeat her. But we're starting from this girl, the Piranha Girl. We always start... Yeah, these... Yeah. I don't want to just make all these episodes one single episode. Yeah, well, no, I don't want to have to do more than... like, it's so I don't have to make that so many episodes at once. So I can just put like 3 types of Lunerboonies I made into one certain episode, so I don't have to make it too long. So yeah, let's say Fango fights the Piranha Girl, Spoonie fights the Insect Girls, Crawly fights the Insect Girls, and Spoonie fights the Abominable Snow Lady, who's wearing a vest, which is actually really cute. And yeah, here's the girl who Fango fights. Yeah, even though the Abominable Snow Lady picture has Fango in it, the truth is we're gonna use Spoonie for that one instead. But hey, here comes the Piranha Girls battle. This is which each mecha suit, like Fango, Spoonie, and Crawly was driving. Yeah, this one Fango was driving. He used this mecha suit to defeat, to fight the Piranha Girl, and Crawly was using this mecha suit to fight the Insect Girls, and Spoonie was using this mecha suit to fight the Abominable Snow Lady. You know? And yeah, it's pretty cool, right? And here's when Fango... Yeah, so yeah. The episode opens in outer space and shows the Dream Gate opening and 3 meteors coming out of it. Excuse me. Yeah, one lands in the ocean in front of the harbor, or right next to the harbor. One lands in the woods near a substation, and one lands in the city of Green Ridge. And then that's when we meet the girls already. Yeah. That's when we see the Piranha Girl come out of the ocean roar, and we see the 2 Insect Girls come out of their crater roar, and we see the Abominable Snow Lady coming out of her crater roaring. And dang, are they just adorable. I should have showed you the Insect Girls and the Abominable Snow Lady, not just showing the Piranha Girl. But hey, anyway, yeah. But then we just cut to Fango. The battle doesn't start there. We just stay with Fango still. So yeah, we just cut to Fangy and Fango having fun at home. And Fango says, "Oh hey." He tells Fangy he asks Fangy if he wants to invite their friends over. Fangy says, "Yeah, sure thing." And so he calls them over. And then he calls them, and then they watch TV. Or they continue to watch TV after Fango calls his friends. And while they're watching TV, we get this time card that says 3 minutes later. We hear a knock at the door. Fango thinks it's his friends, but turns out it's Hacker. He says, "Hey guys, oh wait, Hacker? You're not here to tell me that something just came through the dream gate, are you?" And then Hacker says, "Unfortunately I am." "Gosh darn it," he says. "I don't want to have to deal with another Lunerboonie." "That's not the only bad thing," Hacker says. "Not only did one thing come through the dream gate, 2 other things. There was 3 things that came through the dream gate." Fango says, 3 Lunerboonies? My gosh, this is gonna be too epic. Or he says, this is too far right now. It's just like as much as having to deal with those Matterlins. More than one Lunerboonie, just like those Matterlins. Like that Matterlin battle. Yeah, more than one thing coming through the dream gate. Yeah, he tells him, he says, "Come on, I got friends who are coming over. I'll deal with them later." And then he just closes the door on Hacker. And Hacker says, "Well, okay. If that's how he wants to act, I'll let him act that way." And then Hacker leaves. That was until Fango's friends came over. Once they did, Fango opened the door and said, "Hey y'all, what up?" They all replied, "Hey Fango." And Spoonie said, "Nice to see ya," is what he actually said. And they all hanged out together. Well, Fangy's friends came and said, "Whoa!" And Fango said whoa as well, because he didn't realize the other Fangy's 9, they cloned 9 more of Fangy's friends. And Fango was shocked to see that. Totally shocked to see that. Same with Fangy, that Fango, he was shocked to see that his friends cloned 9 more of Fangy's friends. But hey, it was cool. At least nobody got in trouble. And we see that Daimi invites some of his best friends over. Sorry for the cursor on screen. But anyway, yeah. Daimi invites his friends over after Fango invited his friends over. He invites Chip and Snip and Uncle Bernie over to his house. Yeah, one of Daimi's best friends, including his uncle. And whatever the chicken nugget dudes' names are who lives with Chip and Snip. I should probably look at what their names are. No. Their names are Frizzy, Zesty, and Plumpy. Okay. So yeah, Daimi invites those friends over, those dudes, lives with Chip and Snip. Yeah, they're just twin, nacho chip dudes. And then we see we see like there's a lot of people. We see Tori. We see like pretty much all the friends comes over. We see that we see that he, like Bergie invites his friends over. Let's say he invited like let's say he invited like Barry and Oscar, and also Dimey's friend is Roby, and he hangs out with, and he also hangs out with Rick a lot. Yeah, he invited Rick over the green Jeep, and and Bergie invited, and he invited, when we see we see that Forky, he also invited, Bergie also invited Bolton over, and he invented, and we see he invented Eli over, one of the strong ones, another strong one. There's a lot of strong ones. And they say, "Hey, what's up?" Hey guys, they all start partying, and then we cut to the giant piranha girl destroying semi-truck city. We see she shows up right at the harbor, and she sinks, and she starts beating the living snot out of ships and sinking them. She knocks over cranes. She's knocking some of them into the water. She's beating up trains at the train, the railroad, not the train. Oh yeah, there was a train yard right next to the harbor. Sorry to stop talking for so long. Should have paused my podcast while I stopped talking. And that was me slurping. Sorry about that as well. But yeah, anyway. A few other people comes over. Clyde comes over too, even though Dimey didn't invite him over. Let's say Rick. Let's say Mac came over and he invited Clyde over. Say Dimey likes to hang out with Mac a lot, but Mac invited Clyde over. He also invited Skylar over. Yeah, and then we see that. Yeah, you see that, all his friends. We see that, a lot of people were invited over, including Peter and Jeff, the two sandwiches, Peter, the grilled cheese, and Jeff, the peanut butter and jelly. And then, lots of others. And we see, we also see Chester, or not Chester, no. Chester is going to be in a different episode. He doesn't show up quite. Yeah, we don't, he's actually, you'll first see Chester in one of these, in this season, but he won't show up yet. But yeah, after we see all the people, then we see the party, we cut to the piranha girl wrecking the harbor and the train yard, sinking ships and derailing trains. Then the military comes to attack. She attacks back when they start attacking her. And then all of a sudden, we see she's destroying the news vans as well. And there's a news helicopter. She's knocking them out of the sky and it's going crazy. Yeah, and then we see her show up right next to the bridge in Semi-Truck City. And then she kicks it, and you see a lot of cars fall off the bridge into the water. And then she just completely destroys it. She just does like a karate chop on the bridge. and then this truck almost drives off. And then the school bus stops. And then the school bus driver says, "Whoa, that was a close one." And then the piranha girl is being shot by more military vehicles. We see there's fighter jets attacking her, but then she just knocks all three of them into the water. She knocks them to the side. One lands in the water, one hits a building, and one actually hits a ship and sinks it. Yeah. And let's say there's actually like 4 or 5, maybe 5 of them. And like one, I mentioned, so she knocks 5 fighter jets out of the sky. One lands in the water, one hits a part of the bridge, one hits a building, one hits a semi-truck, or actually a tanker truck, and creates a huge explosion. And one hits a boat and sinks it. And then then we cut to the insect girls destroying parts of Green Ridge. We see the wasp girl. She destroys the paper mill. She destroys. She also destroys an overpass. And then quite a few overpasses. And a lot of cars and trucks comes falling. Some of them exploded and some just caught on fire. And that's when we see her. And then the military starts fighting her as well. But she collapses the bridge underneath the tanks, and then they fall. And we see the ant lady show up out of nowhere. We see, and then after that we see the fire jets attacking the wasp lady. But then we see the ant lady knock the fighter jets out of the air, and she runs one into one of the left turn signal water towers, which collapses it. And and one actually hits a coolant tower, and one hits a clock tower. And those 2 towers also collapses. And then these girls are just on a rampage. And then we see the wasp girl knock over a lot more water towers. And she roars. And she's out of control. And then, well, she's always on a rampage. And then we have the abominable lady, who's also on a rampage, but she's only wrecking up the forest. We see she destroys a substation. She knocks over a watchtower that's in the forest, and then the military shows up attacking her. And then she fights back. And then we see the fighter jets come, and she grabs one of the tanks and throws them at one of the fighter jets, which they actually collide with each other. One hits the one that's up front, she hits the one up front, and the one that's behind it hits the one behind it, and then the one in the back gets hit too, because it was underneath the one that was behind the one up front. It was behind the one that was behind the one up front, and then the wind pushes it into the other one. Sorry to stop talking again, but still, the helicopters, they start shooting her, and she turns around immediately, knocks them out of the sky. And We see another watchtower get destroyed, but it's a much shorter one. The helicopter hits in, then it falls over. And when she kicks a Humvee through a billboard, and then we are like a stat. Yeah, she kicks one and it knocks it's like a statue of a burger, and he's holding a sign in the Humvee. When she kicks the Humvee into it, the Humvee knocks the sign off, and then the statue, or let's say it just smashes right through the sign but gets stuck in it, and then the statue tilts a little bit, and then its thumbs up thing, and then it has a thumbs up hand, but then it turns upside down to it makes it look like a thumbs down hand, which is actually very funny. And that's when and then the person in the Humvee says, "Ah, dang, well that's just great." And then we cut back to Fango and his friends, them being distracted. We see more chaos going on, and then suddenly Hacker, they dance. We see, yeah, and then after the part where the abominable snow lady kicks the Humvee into the restaurant mascot statue sign. And that's when you see Hacker. And we cut to Hacker run into Fango's house. He knocks on the door, but he rings the doorbell. Nobody can notice it. And then he rings the doorbell. First he knocks and rings the doorbell. These guys don't hear the knock or the doorbell. They just, because their music's very loud. It's crazy. Everyone's all the strong lungs are dancing dang, I'm having too much fun. I can't even concentrate on anything else other than this music. That's so fun. But that's when Hacker started banging on the door trying to get Fango's attention. And then one of the strong lungs notices it. He says, and then they open it. Let's say Charles and Hector, Charles opened the door, and then he says, "Hey Hacker, what's up?" Hector says, "I need to talk to Fango." He says he talks to Fango. Fango can't hear him, so he turns off the music to get Fango to stop talking, stop dancing. And Fango's like, "Hey," and everyone says, "Hey, what gives?" One person, let's say Jeff says, "Hey, what?" He says, "Hey, what gives?" Everyone's upset that the music stopped. He says, "I need to talk to Fango." He tells Fango, he says, "Fango, there's 3 different Lunerboonies attacking the cities." He says, "Oh man, really? Why didn't you pay attention to me earlier? I told you, I said, once I get it on the news, I'll get to them. Jeez." He says, "Well, you should have gotten, you should probably get in your mecha suit before they start destroying the cities and stuff. Jeez." He says, "Okay. You guys can continue listening to music. Here. There's 3 different types of Lunerboonies attacking each part of the city." He says, "Oh my gosh, really? I'm gonna, then Crawley needs to fight one, and Spoonie needs to fight one. And I'm gonna fight one too." And then Fango goes for the piranha girl, and Walkie goes for the insect girls, and Forky goes for the no, Crawly, Crawly goes for the insect girls, and Spoony goes for the abominable snow. Yeah, he goes for the abominable snow lady. And that's when we cut back to the piranha lady attacking Semi-Truck City, wrecking up the harbor, fighting, like, backfiring at the military, like crazy. And then Fango shows up in a mecha suit that has it's got two antennas, like it's got like two antennas like on each side of its head, like, and then it's got a round, like it's got like a dome head and a round body. It's got like big fists. It's got like huge fists. And then he runs up to the piranha girl, and he punches her in the face so hard that she puts her hands on her face, like, ow! And then she grabs a billboard and throws it at him, and he just punches it so hard that it just breaks. And then we see her try and knock a chimney. Bingo charges at her. She tries, and then the piranha girl tries to knock a chimney onto her. He knocks it away from him. Knocks it away from himself. She grabs the left turn signal water tower, tries to block him with it, but he breaks through that as well and jumps on her. But then he tries to jump on her, but then she suddenly punches him in the face. Like, she does a jump, like a front flip over Fango's mecha suit, and then he turns around, and then she punches his robot in the face. And then Fango glares at her, and then she glares back, and then we cut to the insect girls where Crawly shows up, and then we see he throws a tractor at the wasp lady, and somehow and then she looks at Crawly, and then she taps funny thing is she taps the ant lady on the shoulder to let her know that Crawly has come in. It's kind of funny, actually. and then they charge at Crawly. We see Crawly's is like a large cube with arms and legs, and it's like just as strong as the one Fango's driving. And when they charge at him, he just punches the wasp girl with his left hand, and he punches the ant girl with his right hand. He does like both of them really fast. And they both get and they both slam into a building, collapsing it. But they're not done yet. They get back up and charge at Crawly again. And this big mean, like, wasp lady, Fango, Crawly got into a real good fight with her. When he punched both the wasp lady and the ant lady with both of his fists, like, and he just suddenly he does like he jumps and like kicks him like this. He like kind of kicks them like a ball. Then they charge at him again, but then he turns around and kicks them like a ball. And they he kicks him in the chest. Like, well, well, he doesn't. Well, it doesn't hurt the ant lady. It hurts the wasp lady. Like the wasp lady. The wasp lady. She gets so hard that she gets hit there. She's like, ugh. Ugh. She makes like a man sound. Let's say she makes like a man grunt and such. She kind of be more funny. She's like, ugh. She makes a sound like that, and like it's really painful. It's really painful when you get kicked there or punched there really hard. And then Crawley runs and grabs something. But then, turns out, at least there was some way to defeat her. He grabs a cargo container off of a flatbed truck and throws it at her. But then, after she feels better, she notices it coming. She grabs it with her claw and then throws it behind her. And it crushes a car, which is actually kind of funny. I just thought it'd be cool if it just crushed it like a car, like a random car. But it was a parked car. Nobody was driving it, so everything's okay. And then then he charges at them. We see them come at him really fast when he isn't expecting it. And then that's when they get their first strike on Crawley. They smash through an overpass, like a freeway, as they do so. And then they push Crawley across the ground. He knocks over a few more buildings, and then they grab a left turn signal water tower, a spheroid left turn signal water tower, and like slams it onto the mecha suit's face, and Crawley, and it just breaks it completely. Like, you're like, like in a man's voice, she makes, and then after she's done, she throws, and then she goes, and then she just lets go as she just slams it, but then and then she just slams it onto him, and then she just knocks it to the side and then starts punching her and starts tearing the wires out of the mecha suit. She doesn't realize that there's an extra that Crawley has an extra mecha suit. She destroyed Crawley's mecha suit, though. The giant cube robot. Kind of looks like a... Yeah. Now Fango... Actually... I just remembered it wasn't his real robot was actually Fango's robot was this robot. This, like, six-legged, like, robot. And this is Crawley's robot. And this is the robot he used, but unfortunately these girls tore the living snot out of it, like tore the wires and like they completely destroyed it. And they were like and then she picked it up and threw it as hard as she could into a skyscraper with a large letter S on it, or with a large, like, letter C on it, and that's Crush Tower. Actually, that's supposed to be in St. Auburn, but that was actually supposed to be in St. Auburn. Let's say it had a large letter S on it instead, so not sure what the S should stand for, but I'll give this tower a name when I get a chance. I should probably give it a name right now. I'm gonna call it Starlight Tower. Yeah. And he just, yeah, and that's the name of the skyscraper with the large letter S on it that she threw, like, Crawley's mecha suit at. And then the large letter S fell off and crushed the rest of the mecha suit. And then the mecha suit finally exploded, and debris went everywhere, including in the river. And some of it crushed a few more cars that were abandoned on the freeways and in the middle of the streets, and all sorts of that. And it knocks over and it does crush a few like smaller buildings, like commercial buildings, and say like one of its legs crushes a gas station and causes an explosion. And then after all that, that's when we see Walkie in his extra mecha suit, which is a cube. Let's say that one's the cube mecha suit. And then we see him glare at them while they can't see him and they're looking for him. Oh, they're not looking for him, but then they just continue to destroy the rest of the city. But then we cut to the abominable snow lady, and here's the mecha suit Spoonie uses, and then all of a sudden, here's the part we see she's fighting back the military. We see she's attacking the city of Road Falls. Yeah, throwing things all over the place. Or actually, let's say maybe she should be attacking Clock and Tin, because it's meant to be more, because Road Falls is actually based off of like Mississippi type area. So I have to do like Clock and Tin because it's based off of a Minnesota type area. So yeah, but still, these girls are on a rampage, just because they're, even though, yeah, but still, we all know what's going on. And then when Spoonie shows up, he goes in for his first strike. Like the side of, like, we see a whole bunch of rockets. Like the side of his mecha suit opens, and then a whole bunch, and it shoots a whole bunch of rockets at her, and she kind of does like it's like playing, I don't know. She just dodges all the rockets. She goes like, wow, wow, wow. Some of them she kicked, and they went a different direction. And say one actually knocked over the microwave tower in Road Falls. Yup. The ST&V microwave relay tower. ST&V microwave relay tower. That's what they're called in Stronglongs. I know in real life they're called AT&T microwave relay towers, but I don't want to use I don't want to use like stuff that already exists like that. I want to make a parody of AT&T, so that's ST&V. ST&V, yep, that stands for Stronglongs Television and Video Game, And yeah, and then we see one of the rockets. Well, before we see the microwave tower get shot by one of the rockets, we see we see a building get shot by one of the rockets, and then that's when we see the microwave tower get shot by the rockets. And then we also see, or actually no, remember, this is not Road Falls, this is Clockington. Let's say they have a microwave tower too, but yeah, it still gets shot. In the end, and then they shoot the clock tower of Clockington. And then, and yeah, he ends up shooting parts of the city. He says, "Sorry about that. I was trying to aim for the abominable snow lady." But before he could finish his dialogue, the lady strikes her while he's not expecting it. and then he rolls across the ground, knocking over a few trees. She's not done yet. She tries, and then she tries to rip a leg off, but then like Spoonie uses his laser eyes on her. He shoots her in the chest, and she's like, "Oh!" The battle ain't over yet. And then that's when we cut to and then yeah. And after we see then we cut back to the abominable snow lady destroying. We don't just cut back to her. Then we see this abominable snow lady grab then she grabs a building and tries to like slam it onto and then he throws it at Spoonie's mecha suit, but he shoots it with the laser eyes. She grabs a lot of buildings, tries to shoot it. Then she tries, and he just laughs, and he gets distracted when he's doing this. But then, out of nowhere, he hits Spoonie with one of Clock and Tin's left turn signal water towers, and then she chuckles evilly like, "How you gonna defeat me now?" And then she hits him 3 more times when she goes in for a 4th strike, he stops her. Spoonie grabs the water tower and then throws, and then he throws it while she's holding on to it. He throws it behind, and she goes flying. She goes, "Whoa!" and she lands, and then he hits, and then she tries to crush her with the water tower, but then she dodges it and then kicks Spoonie's mecha suit, and then she tries to hit him with it by throwing it at him, but then he grabs it and then throws it behind him, and then we cut to the goat lady. And then we cut to the abominable snow lady, and she's getting really mad. And then after that, we cut back to the party where everyone's just not knowing what's going on with. We see Chip and Snip saying, "When is Fangy and Fango gonna?" And when is Fango and Spoonie and Crawly gonna show back up? They just became our friends now, you know? But unfortunately, the battle's not done yet. Sorry to stop talking, but dang, they got. We see that he turns on the news to see him in Fangy's room to see what's going on. And then he sees that he notices that Crawly's mecha suit was just destroyed. He says, "Bad news. Crawly's mecha suit was just destroyed. We don't know if Crawly's okay, but I hope he is. Fango and Spoonie are still fighting their Lunerboonies." And then out of nowhere, we see Crawly show back up. He says, "Whoa, what's that?" and we see Crawley, and then we cut to Crawley himself. We cut to the event where, and we cut to Crawley, like cut to both Crawley and the event he's in at the same time. Yeah, Sam was telling us about it until Crawley shows back up. He says, "I'm okay, man. I have an extra mecha suit." And once the insect girls hears that, they try to attack him, but it's a lot smaller. It's only the size of of a pine tree, just like the other mecha suits he had before. Let's say it was that exact same mecha suit like that he used in the alien robot episode, the one before this one. He says, "This is the same mecha suit I used to fight the alien robot girls last time." And then he grabs a traffic light and tries to hit her with it. But then she opens her mouth and puts Crawley in, and yeah. And then she laughs a little bit. And then he's saying like, "Oh no!" Yep. Started to stop talking, yeah. And after we see Crawley get swallowed by her, and she chuckles after swallowing. Yeah. And then she laughs evilly, and then we cut back to the piranha girl. Fango isn't done yet, but then that's when we see she's throwing cars and trucks at Fango. And that's when we see that he uses his two front legs, and and here's the part where he grabs, he rams her into a building, and then both her and the building falls over. Well, she runs into the building and then falls, and then the building falls as well and collapses. She gets mad. Then she knocks over another building trying to hit Fango, but Fango backs up out of the way, and then it collapses. And then he runs to the harbor, and she chases him while throwing more cars and trucks at him. And she grabs a few airplanes from the airport, and when he turns around, he sees that she's now throwing airplanes, she's throwing trains. Then he dodges them as he's trying to look in both directions, but then he ducks down, trying to not get hit by what she's throwing. And then she reaches the harbor, and then Fango reaches the harbor, and then he grabs one of the cargo ships. And then she tries to hit him with the airliner plane, like the passenger airplane, of course, I would call it. But before and then he kicks it out of her hands, and then it ends up landing on another cargo ship and exploding. They both explode. And then the cargo ship. And then the cargo ships. Sorry to do that, but anyway, yeah, the cargo ship sinks, and the airplane that's burning on top of it slides off into the water, and then that's when we see half of the fire gets put out by the water as the airplane slides into it. So yeah, and therefore the the airplane isn't burning as much anymore. Mm-hmm. 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 Sorry to stop talking again. I really should be pausing these when I stop talking. But anyway, okay, yeah. Like I was saying, yeah. And that's when he shoves the cargo ship into her mouth. He breaks her leg by whacking it with the cargo ship. She like like breaks her knee, goes like and she's like ugh! And she falls. And before she falls, Fango shoves the cargo ship like into her mouth and chokes her to death. That's how he defeats her with the cargo ship. He shoves it into her mouth and chokes her to death. And then it explodes and the flame goes down her throat and then and and then her stomach bursts. Her organ stomach bursts and then she's like blech! And then the front of the cargo ship was destroyed. The very front of it. But then the rest of it explodes after he puts it down. And then we cut back to like before we cut back to Crawley and the insect ladies, we see that the people cheers for Fango for killing the piranha girl. And then he smiles and he goes like, he does like a "you're welcome," like body language type thing. And that's when we cut to like Crawley in the wasp girl's mouth trying to bust his way out. He's like sticking like the traffic light pole like behind like into the like her gums, like trying to like pull her teeth, like trying to pull a tooth out. He does give her a loose tooth. And she is strong enough she just pulls it right out. The good thing is she doesn't bleed when she pulls it out. But the hole he creates isn't big enough. I mean, it probably is still gross, so I probably shouldn't add that to my episode. So maybe we don't need to add that because it may be gross to some people, so I won't add that. But yeah, let's say he's just trying to bust his way out. But then he just punches everything. Then he throws the traffic light behind him and it actually hits her uvula and she chokes. Says, "What did I just hit?" And he looks at her uvula he just actually watches when the traffic light hits and she chokes and opens her mouth. He tries to escape, but she closes it quickly before he could make it out. And then he gives it another. Then he just grabs it and suddenly this is the part where she chokes. And then the ant girl is very concerned. She's worried about her. And then that's when we see her like choking. She's choking. She doesn't, and she can't control herself in every direction. Crawley pulls her uvula. She goes that direction. Like if he pulls it to the right, she'll go right. If he pulls it to the left, she'll go left. If he pulls it right in front of him, she'll go forward. If he pulls it towards him, she'll go backwards. And she pulls it, but then he pulls it, and then, yeah, he's pulling it so hard, she's just choking her, and she can't even close her mouth. She just has her mouth like wide open. She's like and she's just choking with her mouth wide open. She can't even close her mouth. And then that's when the ant girl realizes. She looks in her mouth, realizes what Crawley's doing. She's like telling her, she's trying to get her to hold still, and then that's when we cut to like Crawley, and then he looks out her mouth and realizes what the ant girl's trying to do. She's trying to get like Crawley out of her mouth, like out of the wasp girl's mouth. But when she reaches into her throat to get him out, she doesn't realize he makes his mecha suit bite her finger. His mecha suit has sharp teeth. His small one doesn't. It goes like ah, and it bites his finger. And he bites the ant girl's finger really hard and then he lets go of the uvula and bites her finger really hard, and then the wasp girl accidentally closes her mouth and bites the ant girl's wrist, and then they run. She can't close her mouth, but she couldn't close her mouth all the way because of the wrist. Like ah, and yeah, she accidentally closed her mouth on her friend's hand, and then they both like ran into the grain bin elevator, and then they died, and that's how they died, and then they just like and then they just burned into crisps, and then Crawley comes out of the wasp girl's mouth just fine, and then we see that Sam is happy to see that the insect girls were just defeated. And then we cut to the abominable snow lady battle. We see, but then they suddenly realize that Spoonie needs help. Fango shows up with Crawley. Suddenly, and then they show up, and then suddenly we see that Fango and Crawley shows up with Spoonie while the abominable snow lady is mangling Spoonie, and he's trying to keep his strength against her, and she's like, he's like, but that's when Fango suddenly shoots her. Now, yeah, you see the mouth, like the mouth is actually meant to be like Fango's like mecha suit. Like the mouth shoots a laser like a large beam out, and it shoots a beam out of it, and it hits and it shoots the abominable snow lady right in the head, and then that's when she goes for like Fango, but then she realizes that Fango shows up, and that's when Crawley shows up unexpectedly, and then he pokes her right in the eye, which like one of her eyes, and she can't, and then suddenly, and then that's when Spoonie and then they push her, and then Crawley pokes her in the other eye as well, and then Fango and Spoonie pushes her into the transmissions towers, and then she gets electrocuted, like, and then the electricity kills her. she got electrocuted. They had to electrocute her to kill her. And then people cheers again. And then they all give each other high fives. And then they say, and then we see the sun slowly setting. But then all of a sudden, right as they leave, here's something what we cut. The camera actually cuts back to the abominable snow lady passed out, and that's when we find out she opens her eyes and we realize she's not actually dead. She opens her eyes and she just pretends and we realize that she fakes her death. Yeah, she fakes her own death, and just to hide from Fango. Yeah, she hides from Fango and Fango. She fakes her own death. Yeah, so she fakes her own death and hides from Fango and Fango. But then, after we see her open her eyes, and then she smiles like, we hear her say, "They thought they beat me. They were wrong." He says, "They were totally wrong." But the good news is Fango and Crawly and Spoonie don't hear her talk. So she just fakes her own death. But yeah, after that, we cut to them. We see the sun setting, and then we cut to them at their house, and then all of a sudden, we see that Fango, after he returns to the party, they're dancing again. He says, "Everybody, Fango, you're back!" And same with you, Crawly and Spoonie. They're dancing, and we see it's nighttime now. Everyone's dancing. They've been dancing all day and all night. And then, all of a sudden, then after that, we cut to the strong ones leaving, all of the people leaving. They say, "That was a fun party. Thanks, man." And then we cut to the robots, and then Fango apologizes to Hacker for not listening to him. And Hacker says, "It's okay, man. Sometimes you gotta pay attention to what's going on." He says, "Alright." But after that, but as they're talking, we see that there's the night sky. We see there's rain clouds pulling in. Well, it's nighttime. And then we see that it's about to rain. And while we see that Fango talks to Hacker and the other robot. Well, he wasn't talking to the other robots, he was just talking to Hacker. Here, he says. Yeah, and after he says, "It's okay, Fango. All you have to do, sometimes you just gotta pay attention to what's going on. Alright?" And then he says, "That's right." And then all the other robots, including and then Hacker and all the other robots that, all his friends, says, "Yeah!" They say, "Yeah." And then suddenly we hear we see a small flash of lightning, and then we hear thunder. And that's when we see the clouds pulling in, covering both the moon and the stars. He says, "Oh no! Quick!" He says, "Quick, guys, we gotta go!" He says, and then we see, after the sky gets completely cloudy, and then that's when he says, "Uh-oh," and then it starts to rain. He says, "Ah! Rain! Rain!" He says, "Come on, guys, let's get out of here!" And they rush home, and right before Fango and his friends gets ready, he says, "You guys want to spend the night with us?" He says, "Yeah, sure thing." and like once they get, and before they go inside, we see that Fango. Before they go inside, we see that Fango gets another reward from the person, like the governor. He gives him another reward before he goes inside. He says, "Oh, thank you." He even gives his friends a reward. He says, "Thanks, governor." He says, "You're quite welcome." And then he leaves. And then Fango brings it inside. And that's when we zoom out of Fango's things. And then we zoom out of their house. And then as they're going inside, and then it starts raining harder. And then the episode ends. Like that. Pretty awesome, right? Sorry for the cursor again, but yeah, it ends like that.